But the Texas A&M game you was talking about, this isn't even the Texas A&M we thought we would have because of all the players that left from that historic recruiting class just 3 years ago. It's gone. So Texas A&M still has a name, but is it a good enough name and has players that's still there that can take care of a Notre Dame team, which also has done better recruiting-wise? Didn't they get Jerome Bettis' son as well as a legacy player?
You just reminded me. You said Texas A&M, and I thought Trev Alberts. Yeah, I hope the Irish give him the L. Fuck Trev.
I forgot about Trev doing his thing, man. That's crazy. I still can't think about it. There's certain schools, when you think about their legendary players or their really prominent players, you just think that forget it. There's just no way they're going to leave anywhere if they have the spot there. Trev Alberts was one of those guys. It's like Bo Schembechler. I don't want to coach Michigan anymore because I might want to coach USC, UCLA, Arizona State. That just doesn't even sound right. You hear a Michigan man, and the Michigan man stays in Michigan. You hear Trev Albert coming from Nebraska. If the job opens in Nebraska, you take that job. You nurture that program, and it would have worked perfectly with Dylan Raiola coming in.
You would think. But at least he brought in Coach Rule. Coach Rule seems to be doing what Coach Rule does, build programs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm as high on them as you are. Dylan Raiola, he's a top recruit, a blue chipper, but he is a freshman.
And that's true.
How well is he going to play? And in Nebraska's history, he's only the second true freshman to start opening day. There's a reason for that.
But guess what? He's also a true freshman who knows how to throw the ball forward. A lot of your guys in the past were guys who were the option guys, power guys, running backs who just happen to have the ball in their hand most of the time. He's the quarterback who could read defenses, at least we knew from high school, and looking to see what the transition is. And we also talked about how that transition can be, how great you could be in high school playing against some of the top high school talent in the entire country. But then the college ranks is just so difficult. And you're not just going into any conference. You're not going into the Sun Belt. You're coming into the Big Ten to play these kinds of teams. And things move a whole lot faster. And you're talking the SEC and the Big Ten is pretty much college football this year. It's most likely whatever champion we have at the end of all of these playoffs is going to be either from the SEC or the Big Ten. That's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be hard for me to find out someone from the outside, the ACC or the Big 12 is going to do anything. Even the sneaky people who get in aren't going to do anything.
It's going to be difficult unless, the Big Ten and SEC teams just beat up on each other and conference champion has 2 losses or perhaps 3 losses, maybe Wisconsin or pulls off the upset in the championship game or something, that'll throw a monkey wrench into things. But unless the top teams dominate, then that'll leave space open for the other conferences.
Those conferences have so much depth now because we're not even talking real numbers anymore. We're not talking about Pac-10 or Pac-11 because there's 11 teams there. We're talking about a whole bunch of teams that are now in the Big Ten and a whole bunch of teams that are now in the SEC, which is a whole lot of teams now between just those 2 conferences. They can beat up each other all they want. There's still going to be other teams there that can fill the void because if their top teams aren't going to be there, well, their middle tier teams could slide right in, and they might get beat, but they can slide in and take that Conference USA spot, that Sun Belt spot, or whoever might have got that little outlier spot that they're trying to make prepared for the 12-team playoff.
We'll see. That remains to be seen.
Well, man, it's just I'm just glad college football is back. And then Georgia, Clemson, we talked about Georgia last time, so I didn't think we need to really pound on it now. But hey, Dabo Swinney once again, coming in without the transfer portal players, and we do have Georgia who lost over 20 players from their team and brought in 10 players from the transfer portal. I think the most important player they brought in was Trevor Etienne, running back from Florida, but he may not play in that game because of his issues last March when he get caught with the DUI. So he was in practice.
I got to think Coach got his boys ready. They felt slighted last year. They felt they should have been in the playoff. I'm sure they believe if they got into the playoff, they would have won and beat Michigan. So I know they're coming in with the chip on their shoulder this year. They probably beat Clemson by 3 touchdowns at least.
I'm looking to see, because they're playing in Atlanta, which is essentially a home game for them at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, the same place that they play there. Well, Alabama played Miami. I guess their kickoff classic, or also you have the SEC championship games there. So they expected to come back there later on this year anyway, going into the SEC championship game. But I'm still interested in seeing how much improvement Carson Beck has made from last year to this year. Typically, you see that noticeable improvement with quarterbacks. And, when I was talking about incremental improvement you get from a quarterback, that's typically a younger quarterback. You don't mind the incremental improvement because if you're a freshman, getting better from year to year, practice to practice, and being a finished product or close to it by your junior year, you can have a much better idea. But when you're getting your first shot as a junior, you need exponential improvement. He didn't show that too much last season. Now he needs to show that, and I'm curious in seeing how he's going to look in his senior year. Maybe he does what Mac Jones had done. Didn't look very well when he went in a few times. He just looked awful. But in his last year, when it mattered the most, what did he do? He got him. He was a top 3 Heisman Trophy candidate, and the numbers prove he should have been. And he ran that offense like a genius. So yeah, but it's going to come down to Carson Beck. It's always the most important position on the field, quarterback. But Trevor Etienne really can take that pressure off because he catches out of the backfield just as well as he runs between the tackles, and he can get to the outside. I watched that South Carolina game last year when I was there, and you could get to see the speed, right in front of you. We had some real close seats. I prefer seats up in the bleachers, but we had those real close to the field seats, and you get to see the speed of these dudes, taking their hits and all that. But he's definitely going to be a piece for them. They definitely need. He's going to be the starter there, most likely. But I wonder, because of this DUI deal last March, is Kirby Smart going to look past that? Because now that's become an issue again when people thought it was no longer an issue because he was in spring camp or summer camp or fall drills.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his record is on discipline.
The SEC people who don't like will tell you the whole team is in trouble all the time. Guess what? The whole team shows up to SEC Media Day, the whole team shows up to the SEC Championship game, and if there is a championship game to be played, they'll be there too. So I guess not too harsh when it comes down to that. The whole team shows up. I like Kirby, man. I have no problem with the guy. And I can't not like Georgia. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Georgia fan, but I don't see any reason why not to like him. I've always liked Georgia for some reason. You know what I mean? But just not a freaking Georgia fan. They got really cool fans. I'll tell you that. I've been to enough Georgia, Florida games and pre-games to know that I could deal with their fans. Them Gator fans, another story.